I'll give Rand Ash credit for this one. As long as I know that current is flowing through a given fuse, why not go ahead and just replace a fuse with a loop of wire. Now you don't want to do this on a circuit where you suspect there's any kind of an issue with a short or anything like that. But we had a little bit of a current draw, but you can't really measure it by just looking at the voltage across this thing. But if you put a loop in here and you grab your DC ammeter, clamp ammeter, you can drop this in here and find out what type of current you're drawing. And here I can see that the cluster is drawing 0.17 amps, 0.19, 0.18. It kind of varies a little bit. Given a little more time, it might go to sleep, but that is not the big current draw in this car. The cluster is not it. The cluster is triggering something else. And he had a theory of his own. We're about to go test it. Now you might recall from the earlier video that this orange one, this 40 amp fuse right here, was showing some current draw, and there it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull that out and slide this in its place. Now we got to give it a few minutes for things to settle in. You know, you just woke up systems on the car by plugging that circuit back in. So give it a little bit of time, we'll come back. Actually, for grins, we're just gonna look at it right away. Not much of anything. Let me show you a little bit more about this head unit. This is a touch screen I picked up off Amazon. In here we have a Raspberry Pi. I have to look up to tell you exactly which version. And it is running OpenAuto Pro, and then there's just a mess of wires here to try and get everything working. But some of the functions and features on here, I've got a pair of boards here that are used to convert 12 volts to 5 volts for different purposes. This one I use for the cord that goes external and charges the phone, but because I've got things, yeah, this came loose now when I took it out. But because things have been daisy chained so much, this actually introduces noise back into the system when I plug my phone into it. So I'm gonna move this one off the board here and plug it in elsewhere. This here is a countdown timer. You can find these on Amazon. It's really useful and indispensable in an operation such as this. We shut off the power switch in the car. First, the power to the accessory goes to nothing, but you still have power coming across the 12 volt system right here. And what happens, you need this because it's a computer, you need to give it a chance to get a graceful shutdown. So what happens, we use a countdown timer. There's a relay under there. There's wires that go to a GPIO board here, just like I'm doing with the volume knob. That also goes in here and triggers it to control the volume. But when this relay sends a signal to the board, it sends a signal to the board to tell the computer to start shutting down. Meanwhile, this countdown timer starts a countdown. We'll only provide power for a limited period of time after the accessory power has been removed, so it starts a countdown for 15 seconds. Now, let's talk about the problem I've run into here. It's this box. This is used to connect to the optical system. Actually, here's a dummy optical connector. This is used to connect to the optical system in the Mercedes-Benz, and this is a cheap one. And what I found out was that the bus was staying awake, and when I unplugged this, when I plugged in this device right here, which is just a bypass, an optical bypass, because the optical system is in a ring in the system. If you interrupt the ring, nothing in that ring function properly. Anyhow, when I plug this in, when I unplug this and plug this in, I found out the car would in fact go to sleep and the current draw would go to nothing. So it was actually a bus that was sucking all the power all along. What I'm going to do is I'm going to experiment with another one. I decided to go with a brand name, so I picked up this one from Xtrons. Now this one does not have, you'll note it looks almost identical. This does not have an accessory lead. It only has a battery power lead. So I don't know if this will go to sleep or allow the car to go to sleep when the power is shut down. We will give it a try and find out. realized that a lot of these sorts of things you might realize are just different packaging, usually made by the same people in the same plant, same parts. But just for grins, I realized that these had covers that could easily be removed without breaking anything. So I opened them up and took a look, and oh, what do you know, these are actually very different from each other. So, you know, I hold a lot of promise that this name brand unit will work a little bit better. We are going to give it a try. So I removed the older, cheaper one. I've put in the Xtrons version in here. It's held down with two-phase tape. I used some good inch wide 3M stuff, a couple good strips on there. One thing you'll note is from the top, I removed this because this was creating noise. I'm going to find another place for it inside the dash. All right, I knew I had to relocate this, and I was playing around with ideas like maybe I just drop it down there in the ashtray. Maybe I two-phase tape it here. I don't like having all those electronics exposed like that. Somebody might throw some jewelry or something in here and short something out. I thought, well, I could maybe stick it on the side here, but when I did that, I realized, well, what if it was on the other side of this piece of plastic here? And I looked. Look at this. I've already made a mark here, but look at that. It actually fits. If I just push this off to one side just a little bit, I could put it right in here. There's nothing that interferes with this. I've already checked. I can plug this cord in here okay. What I could probably do is tap into that cord with the barrel adapter that goes in here, the little barrel with a pigtail that came with this. And I've made a little mark right here so that I can see where I need to start cutting. But the beauty of it is when I'm done, I expect to have a little USB port right here. It'll look like it belongs. Well, it probably won't be that pretty, but it'll be hidden in the ashtray. But I'll just have a little USB port exposed right there that I can then plug my phone into to keep it powered. Alright, so you can see I wired up the pigtail that came with this DC to DC converter, and I've hooked it up to the leads for the cigarette lighter. I went ahead and identified positive and negative and connected it up, so when we turn on the ignition we will have USB power right there. I know it's not the prettiest, at least it's out of sight because it's inside the ashtray. Okay. Put this back in place. And this way. Better if I had a right angle here, but this will work. All right, so we've got everything plugged in. Let's see how things are working. This is switched on, so let's go ahead and power up. And give us a little bit of time and we should have it booting up. I don't seem to have, oh okay, I wasn't plugged in all the way, but we are getting charge and we are connected. So let's try this.
I want you to know you're listening to
Sounds like it's working.
Hi everybody, it's Tom Woods. It's episode 2642 of the Tom Woods Show.
But the bottom line is it does seem to be working. All right, let's go ahead and check to see where things are now. Put this in DC mode. Zero it. Let's see where we are right now. Oh, we are already doing a whole lot better. It's only been a few minutes, but we're down to 0.38, 0.37 amps. So let's come back in like half an hour and see how it looks then.